I started this journey wondering if an iPad with iPadOS could replace my MacBook Air.
This system, they claim, and similar to how they claim every year or so, that it's going to be the system to change everything for the iPad. And looking at the promo videos, looking at the event, looking at the developers conference back a few months ago, it really looked like they took some great pushes in the right direction. So once I got my hands on iPadOS, I thought that somehow that would change how my regular day-to-day goes. And to really cut to the point, if you're a developer or you're a filmmaker or someone that relies heavily on a MacBook or PC that handles a lot of different custom programs like Adobe Creative Cloud, stuff like that, or you have to code on the internet, I don't think this one's going to be a game changer for you. However, if you don't really rely on any of the specialty skills required, like Final Cut Pro or Premiere Pro or things like that, and your day-to-day is typically handling business or illustration or graphic design or even tattoo artist, the vast majority of us, I do believe this operating system is going to change a lot for you.
I want to talk a bit about the design of the iPad OS. I mean, not specifically the iPad itself. This thing's amazing already. Ultimately, I love it. I love how it just flows. I love how beautiful it is. The dark mode is great. And I don't know, it just works. It's Apple. Everything designed by Apple, aside from this, looks really good.
The biggest improvement, in my opinion, is the file system. It's something simple or something that we take for granted, but if you've used a MacBook and the Finder, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's just intuitive. It's easy to use. It just makes sense. They took a stab at improving the file system, I believe last year or year before last, in the previous version, when it was called iOS 12 for iPad or whatever. And they did good, but it just still felt separated. In this one, you can really tell they're trying to make this a similar experience to what you get on the Mac. And you can tell, you can copy, you can paste, you can, as you airdrop, things pop up like super quick, and it's just right there in the most convenient way. When you can open up multiple Finder windows, though I found myself not really needing to do this, but I definitely understand why you would want to do that. Just like on a MacBook, I all the time have two Finder windows always open so that I can copy and paste between each two or move something, etc., etc. It's just much more intuitive of what an experience that you would find on a PC or a MacBook.
The build quality of the iPad is exceptional, but you're going to be still prone to cracks. I cracked this guy a long time ago. You can get a case, but I find like cases really take away from what you use with the build of this. When you slap a case around this, it makes it heavier. So when you're holding it up in your hand, you're feeling like the weight. So I like to just carry it. I'm cool with the little crack in my screen, but I've had this for a couple of years and it's held up beautifully.
What's really changed? Well, they made a pretty huge deal about the photos, like photos reimagined. Sorry to say that's not really the case. It's not like that wonderful or beautiful. Maybe there's some things done under the hood, but I didn't really notice anything. I actually prefer the previous photo experience to the one right now. You can edit your videos now. That was a big take for me. You can like edit them, like cropping them or changing them to like 16 by 9 or 4 by 5. Really, it says 8 by 10 in there, but that's the same ratio, aspect ratio. That's getting very popular on Instagram. The dark mode, I actually find it pretty calming and pretty nice on the iPad. You can tell a lot of ingenuity, a lot went into creating the system, and I appreciate it. Something that I had to get right for my own personal preference before it became useful was now you have a way to kind of keep things docked in horizontal mode. And it seems really cool when they're doing it, but I couldn't find a best case scenario of me using it for it not to just be another quote unquote widget on my screen, similar to like how Android is. And I figured it out. Maybe this will work for you. I have my reminders at the top, then my calendar, not my up next calendar, but my calendar, then I believe the news, and then just my battery life of certain things around. And I have those all expanded. It seems to be a pretty good feed because those are constantly kind of things that you glance at. You can check something off right from the home screen, like with a reminder or whatever. You can click into the latest kind of news article. Just kind of good information just to have on your home screen that just makes sense.
Performance. How does iPadOS perform? It performs it's super slick. It's super fast. I don't know how much faster like Face ID is with like the new iPads. I just have the Touch ID, but it just operates like any Apple OS operating system would. You don't have to think about it. It's pretty intuitive. I do have one problem with how it operates, and this is really a design feature, a UX feature. When you're hard pressing and holding down to change icons, it's non-intuitive. Like you hold it down, and it used to be that just moved things around, but now that they're introducing the long press instead of the 3D touch, sometimes you have to wait a long time, and sometimes when you're moving into home folders, it just doesn't work. So I'd love to see that improved.
The biggest change that I found was the Reminders app, and it took me a while to actually appreciate this app. I commented previous that I was like, this is just another reminder app. It just they didn't do too much, but no, they really did. And I think it's something so small that you don't exactly see unless you're really adding tasks in there daily. So just like the previous reminder app, you can make lists and things like that. But to be honest, you actually don't need to create any list. For it's smart enough to have like 4 different lists already kind of pre-generated, or I guess I could say smart lists because they update automatically. You have today, you have scheduled, you have flagged, and there's another one that I'm not hitting on. And it, whenever you have something that's due today, it pops up in today's smart list, and if you have something that's due tomorrow or due Wednesday or a month from now, it's in the scheduled list. Now, a lot of times the scheduled, like whenever like you have this kind of bulk all scheduled list, it just is another way of saying, oh, here goes your to-do list, and it looks ugly. But they did a really smart thing with this list. You open it up, and it has it divided by the day, almost like you're in a calendar view. Notes list didn't get that much of a refresher, but the notes list, it just kind of works. It does its thing. You probably can do a couple more things in there, but I didn't really notice that much.
Apple Pencil with the iPad, it's not for everyone, for sure. If you're a designer or illustrator or something like that, I definitely think you should get one if that is your primary work.
I was one of the people that really thought I would use it because I'm a graphic designer and I create logos and things like that and all sorts of cool things and drawings, etc. But I find myself using the pencil like maybe 1% of the time, and I have a Gen 1 pencil, so it seems like I always have to charge it before I use it, which is, it's a small 15-second thing. Like, it's not that big of a deal, but it is like that separation between like you just using your finger versus the pain of charging this thing for 15 seconds so that you can use it. I know that's complaining, but I don't really think you need it unless you truly are like that, like the only thing you're doing is illustration or really heavy hand design work, or animation or something, like things like that. It's really good, it's really precise, it's really nice. It's all the things that it says it is, but I find that the majority of us will not use it at all. Do I prefer this version over iPadOS 12? Yeah, they'd made some pretty big improvements, but here's my problem that I personally have. Maybe not you, I think that I'm in the minority, but I have a MacBook, I have an iPhone XS Max, and I have an iPad Pro, and I also have several other iPhones. Anyways, I have the all three, if you want to say it, of the family of what you might use on your day to day. And when I'm looking to do heavy work, when I'm looking to do like really technical work in Final Cut Pro, I open up my MacBook. Or if I'm looking to intensively write about something or do something along those lines, I'm still opening up my MacBook Pro, but because the screen is just there, the keyboard's really nice, it's not tight, I'm not gripping my fingers a little bit, I'm not trying to awkwardly place it somewhere, it's just nice. When I'm on the go and I'm with the kids and I need to upload things to social media, I need to kind of like watch some YouTube, etc., all that, I'm pulling out my iPhone. I'm not pulling out my iPad because I can't put it in my pocket, and typically it's laying on my desk. So the iPad, if you are a developer or you're a filmmaker, I'm coming back around to this, it's going to be one of those things that you'd love to pull out all the time, but you just aren't. MKBHD kind of mentioned this back a good while ago, and I don't think he's the only one. I think it's one of those things where it's a beautiful piece of technology. It's so light. It's very, very light. It's very cool. But because our career and our what we do, or the tools that we use, are professionally made for the MacBook or for a PC or whatever, it's hard to make an argument to use the iPad as your computer.
iPad OS replace your computer? I'm going to say for anyone that does any major work on their computer, like coding or filmmaking, things like that, this guy isn't going to cut it. But if you're like the vast majority that doesn't require these crazy technical applications, and most of your work is done in notes and reminders on the browser and social media, things like this guy and the new file system that they introduced is going to be killer. Thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe if you aren't already. Like and give me a comment. Tell me what you thought of this. I really wanted to provide as much value to you as I can. Of course, hit the notification bell if you haven't already to get notified. and I'll catch you on the next tech review. My name's Will Mosley. Bye.